What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. With few exceptions, the world now stands as one. A year and a half ago, in Germany, I said that our goal was a Europe whole and free. Tonight, Germany is united. Europe has become whole and free. The world can therefore seize this opportunity to fulfill the long-held promise of a new world order. We can find meaning and reward by serving some higher purpose than ourselves. A shining purpose, the illumination of 1,000 points of light. What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law.
I appeared before the Congressional Committee to tell what I knew of activities which might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it, and he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States.
The secret organizations of the world power elite are no longer secret. is known as the Bilderberg Group. Could their objective be world domination?
Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel said we are seeing a new 21st century world order being built, and although there are conflicts and complications, there's still hope.
I think what's more hopeful, and maybe than any other time in the history of the world, is that we have more opportunities, and more possibilities, and more resources, and more capacity to do more good for more people.
We meet here at a moment of testing for Europe and the United States, and for the international order that we have worked for generations to build. But part of what makes us different is that we welcome criticism, just as we welcome the responsibilities that come with global leadership. We look to the east and the south and see nations poised to play a growing role on the world stage, and we consider that a good thing. It reflects the same diversity that makes us stronger as a nation, and the forces of integration and cooperation that Europe has advanced for decades. And in a world of challenges that are increasingly global, all of us have an interest in nations stepping forward to play their part, to bear their share of the burden, and to uphold international norms. But at this moment, we must meet the challenge to our ideals, to our very international order, with strength and conviction. And it is you, the young people of Europe, young people like Laura, who will help decide which way the currents of our history will flow. Do not think for a moment that your own freedom, your own prosperity, that your own moral imagination is bound by the limits of your community, your ethnicity, or even your country. You're bigger than that. You can help us to choose a better history. That's what Europe tells us. The policies of your government, the principles of your European Union will make a critical difference in whether or not the international order that so many generations before you have strived to create continues to move forward, or whether it retreats. And that's the question we all must answer. What kind of Europe? What kind of America? What kind of world will we leave behind? I congratulate you on taking your place on the long gray line. But the world is changing with accelerating speed. This presents opportunity, but also new dangers. It will be your generation's task to respond to this new world.
Yes, I think his task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity. It isn't such a crisis. There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order, because the global order is changing again. And the institutions and the rules that worked so well in the post-World War II era for decades, they need to be strengthened.
The way we're going to win over the long term is not just militarily. We've got to win over hearts and minds. And what that means is we've got to invest in countries that have no educational infrastructure, have no means for young people to get ahead. We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it was a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
each of us has to build a new world order in which nations and peoples with different systems and different values can live together in peace.
And I strongly believe India will be a central actor in the new world order.
The President, George Bush, has talked time and time again about a new world order. And this is the best chance to begin to establish the new world order.
But it is the awareness itself that will drive the change. And one of the ways it will drive the change is through global governance and global agreements.
With the end of the Cold War, Henry Kissinger pointed out in his superb book on diplomacy, he said, "None of the most important countries which must build a new world order have had any experience with the multi-state system that is emerging. Never before has a new world order had to be assembled from so many different perceptions or on so global a scale. Nor has any previous order had to combine the attributes of the historic balance of power system with global democratic opinion and the exploding technology of the contemporary period." That was written in 1994, and it may be even more relevant today.
As I've told you before, because I love it so much, they also created the Great Seal of the United States. And that Great Seal of the United States has on it, Novus Order Seclorum, a new order for the centuries, for the ages, forever.
That this crisis, in the way that has developed, will require some kind of a world governance.
Good evening, everybody. President Obama and British Prime Minister Gordon today calling for a new world order to tackle our global economic crisis.
And the President outlined his vision of a new world order in which the US would participate fully.
So I see a world order in the future with a multipolar world order.
But in a globalized economy, we are going to have to take global responsibilities, and there is going to have to be some semblance of global governance.
There also exists an extraordinary opportunity to form for the first time in history a truly global society.
Well, during the conflict with Saddam Hussein, which he handled so superbly in a short-term sense, but he kept talking about a new world order. And then President Bush, at the end of that war, promised he would give 4 graduation addresses, 4 commencement addresses, describing that new world order and what America's role was going to be in it. Turned out he gave one of those addresses and canceled the other 3 and talked about something else. That's what, because they weren't ready yet.
And this present window of opportunity, during which a truly peaceful and interdependent world order might be built, will not be here for too long.
2009 is also the first year of global governance, with the establishment of the G20 in the middle of the financial crisis. The climate conference in Copenhagen is another step towards the global management of our planet.
We will have the kind of global governance that is necessary to ensure the stability and transparency of markets in a way that gives us the benefits of a globalized market economy without the enormous risks.
It's about the future of the whole region. It's about the future of Europe and a new world order.
The transatlantic partnership was never just the foundation of our security. It was the foundation of our way of life. It was forged in experience of the most bitter and anguished kind. Out of it came a new Europe, a new world order, a new consensus as to how life should and could be lived.
Francis is ushering in a new era for the Catholic Church, and so are the crowds. Take a look at this image. It was taken on March 13th, the day Francis was elected.
One of the many challenges Pope Francis will face is getting the Vatican's financial house in order. Mark Phillips looked at the Church's history of secrecy and scandal.
The Vatican is more than the world's largest religious institution. It's a business in trouble. There are backroom financial scandals at Vatican Inc. In an old stone tower behind the papal apartment is the Vatican Bank. The Church's various departments, its priests and employees keep accounts here. Secret accounts, hidden from the prying eyes of international regulators. An Italian court investigating the bank found documents showing some accounts had been used for money laundering and other illegal, and for the Church highly embarrassing, activities. Vatican watchers like Marco Politi have studied the court documents that verified the bank's transactions have not always been kosher.
There was money of the mafia who was recycled through the channels of the Vatican Bank, and also bribe money to political parties in Italy went through the Vatican Bank.
With dark financial clouds hanging over the Vatican, the European Union insisted the bank open its accounts to public scrutiny. When it was too slow, tourists felt the pinch. When European bankers suspended the Vatican's credit card facilities, visitors couldn't use plastic to buy Sistine Chapel tickets. $30 million of Vatican money in Italian banks was seized and only released when the Church promised to reform. Now Swiss lawyer René Brulhart, who helped clean up other secretive European banks, has been brought in. But still the bank keeps many of its dealings private and not just from outsiders. South African Cardinal Wilfred Napier, who sits on a committee that's supposed to sign off on the Vatican's books, told us he still can't get the information he needs.
I'm one of those 15 cardinals who sits on that committee, and we sign our name to the report. I want to know that I'm signing something that is actually reflecting the truth.
There's another scandal with a girl who disappeared in the Vatican 20 years ago, and they say they may have found her remains. The Italian police are leading the investigation, but instead of helping them, the Vatican is obstructing the investigation. It's likely they knew about this and stayed silent. And on top of all those cases of pedophilia, this is just disgusting.
The list of controversial events involving Catholic priests or Vatican officials reads like a tabloid. Reports of sex abuse, pedophilia accusations, alleged large-scale corruption and possible ties with the mafia. While the media, especially in Italy, has been having a field day with the scandals, the Vatican either stayed silent or rebuffed all accusations.
Well, David Lorenz, a director of a group called the Survivors Network of those abused by priests, doubts the new pope will bring much change to the Vatican.
Nikki Davis says she was sexually abused by a Catholic brother, but she's no longer afraid to talk about it. Yet she says she knows of 2 other child abuse survivors who say they've been threatened not to talk to the Royal Commission.
Some victims are reporting having received death threats because the information, the knowledge that they have, their personal experience is too damaging to the Catholic Church.
Video cameras caught trucks arriving at the World Trade Center from about August 23rd until every night until about September 2nd, September 3rd. And the trucks were arriving at about 3 o'clock in the morning when everybody else had left the building, including the janitorial trucks. And the trucks were leaving at 5 a.m. right before the AAA personalities of Wall Street got to work to start their day. Something was brought into that building that would help with the detonation. There may have been work done on the detonation before. It may have been going on for months, but whatever they needed at the very end, they came and brought in that 10-day period.
The purpose of that infiltration was what for?
Well, the purpose is what the Roman Catholic system has all the time as her own purpose, is to infiltrate, to penetrate all the areas of life where the Roman Catholic can have control and access for the coming world government. What that means is, in preparation for that world government, the Roman Catholic institution, especially since the establishment of the Jesuit order in 1541, to all these 500 years, they've been in preparation and through infiltration and penetration of every level of society in order to take over the world politically and religiously. There are two doctrines that define very well these dangerous goal of the Roman Catholics.
Under a brilliant blue sky in St. Peter's Square, Pope Francis beatified the late Pope Paul VI on Sunday. The lavish ceremony comes at the end of a 2-week-long assembly of bishops that revealed deep divisions in the Church on how to respond to homosexuality and divorce. Just a week ago, the Church released a historic document asking Catholics to consider acceptance of gays. But the final document drafted on Saturday reversed that decision. Pope Francis, who wants to modernize the Church, called on the Assembly not to fear change. He paraphrased from Pope Paul VI, the very man whom he was honoring with a beatification.
By carefully surveying the signs of the times, we are making every effort to adapt our ways and methods to the growing needs of our time and the changing conditions of society.
Voting tallies show the articles on acceptance of gays failed to get a 2/3 majority to win a broad consensus. But in an unusual move, Pope Francis decided to keep that earlier draft alive in the final document. That means these divisive themes can be discussed locally ahead of next year's assembly, bringing the debate over doctrine to the local level among the faithful.
Pope Francis has said the Big Bang Theory is compatible with the Catholic Church's teaching on creation. Speaking to members of the Pontifical Academy of Science, the Pope said it is possible to believe in both, insisting God was responsible for the Big Bang from which all life evolved.
L'inizio del mondo non è opera del caos che deve a un altro la sua origine, ma deriva direttamente da un principio supremo che crea per amore. Il Big Bang, che oggi si pone all'origine del mondo, non contraddice l'intervento creatore divino, ma lo esige. L'evoluzione nella natura non contrasta con la nozione di creazione, perché l'evoluzione presuppone la creazione degli esseri che si evolvono.
The Pope's remarks were in line with the Catholic Church's teaching of the last few decades.
I wanted to know whether you would say a word. A lot of the people around the world know that the attacks on 9/11 were an intelligence black op, and so we were wondering whether you would say a word to support a real investigation that would get to the bottom of it, because it seems to have set off a fake holy war or a religious war.
It's very difficult to know.
No, but we know that bin Laden didn't do it, and there are also Jesuit networks that are helping cover it up. Will you say something, sir?